Oh, Maria, welcome to the show.
Yes, Gallucci.
Maria Gallucci. Actually, when I was saying Maria, I was thinking about the song by Santana, Maria. Do you know it?
I love that song. I love Santana.
That should have been like your anthem throughout your life, like your entrance song.
I know it should have been, and then or they always sing that one song. I just met a girl named Maria from West Side Story. Do you remember that one?
Just met a girl from West Side Story. Okay, I need to check that one out.
Yeah, it's from West Side Story. And it's I just met a girl named Maria. So they either played that or they either sing me that song or the other one.
Okay, nice. It's actually, if I come to think about it, it's actually been quite some time since I listened to Santana.
I mean, me too.
Yeah. That's an OG.
I know.
Yeah, definitely. Well, once again, welcome to the show. So, how's your morning so far? It is morning, right? It's 11 a.m. or just past 11 a.m.
Yeah, it's been good so far. I've been up and about since around 5 a.m. So I've been already working and doing my chores and everything.
And where are you coming to us from today?
From Denver, Colorado.
From Denver, Colorado. So, what is the average morning? Okay, you started your day at 5. Do you always start your day at 5?
No, I just ever since I was I'm trying to fix my video. Ever since I was a kid because I was a teen mom, so I always woke up with her. And so I've always just like woken up early. Like I've never, even if I go to bed late at night, I always still get up very early. I need to incorporate working. I'm up so early.
So, you were forced into being a morning person.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm definitely a morning person. Yeah, and my dad was like that too. He only got like I still remember like 4 hours, and that's it. I sleep like a night.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Wow. Yeah, that is crazy. I'm also a morning person. I prefer the morning, where you have that time just to self-reflect and it's just you, like the world doesn't exist. It's like
Exactly.
meditate, pray, whatever, maybe take a walk in nature, exercise. But I do have my moments where I'm like, "Ah, I don't feel like getting up too early today, so I'm just going to sleep for another 2 hours, you know.
I think the latest I've ever slept in is probably 8 o'clock, 8 a.m. I think, and that's right, and that's like rare. But and I still remember going to a job at 18 at at a trust company for real estate, and I had to be there at 5:30. So my shift started at 5:30, and I was only 18. And I loved it because it's so true because it's quiet, because nobody's around, no one's really there. And I think that you could get so much done early in the mornings.
Yeah, no, 100%. That's your transformational period, versus the
Mhm.
afternoon or evening when it's transactional and you don't really feel like doing much. But I guess for me, why some mornings, like today, for example, I choose to actually sleep a bit later because it's 7 p.m. or 10 past 7, in the evening here in South Africa. So I also need to save that energy, for the podcast because it's in different time zones.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that's true because you have to go with everyone's time zones.
yeah, exactly. So it's a bit hectic, if you waking up, say 5, 5:30 in the morning, and then doing what you need to do throughout the day. And then still in the night now, you need to reserve, 2 to 3 hours, because after we chat here, then I also spend some time just going through the show, not really doing much editing. But you could say, between 2 to 3 hours, in the evening. So haven't become an expert at it yet, how to manage it after all these years, but I'm doing the best I can. And it just depends, what are the tasks, for the next day, I guess.
Exactly. It's like balancing and stuff. Have you ever had one where it's the middle of the night where you are?
Yeah, I've had one just before middle of the night. And this was a crazy show. Okay. This was a crazy show because it was actually on another show that I co-host. So the lady that I co-host the show with, she's based in Oregon in the US.
Okay.
So the guest that we had is in Australia. So now the time in
Ooh.
Oregon was 8:30 a.m., right? It was between 11 and 11:30 p.m. my time. This was still Saturday. So it's 8:30 a.m. for her Saturday. It's 11 p.m. for me Saturday. For our guest who's based in Australia, it's 11:30 a.m. for him Sunday.
Sunday. We had all the time zones on that one.
So that was a crazy one, but it was exciting, like how you can actually, connect in this day and age. I was like, whoa, here we are still in Saturday talking to somebody who's already in Sunday.
Yeah, exactly. That's crazy. The things of like the Zoom and the meetings now, you don't really have to go to in-person meetings anymore. Everything you could just do on like TVs.
Yeah. And times have changed. And I mean, it's changed for a long time now. I mean, now you're no longer just restricted to your country,
Mhm.
who you work with, who you connect with. Now you can connect with anyone around the globe, whether it be for a podcast, whether it be for business interests. Like, myself coming from a music background, there's artists that I've collaborated with in different countries and we still make the production happen. And it's such a big wow, you can do these things. You're not restricted like to one studio.
What exactly? And you could do in like to different places that you're in. And I have a virtual assistant, and she's in the Philippines. So like, what stuff is happening to her is like completely different out here. But it's so nice to see all the different cultures.
100%, 100%. Which I mean is there's like a dotted line, to
Mhm.
cultures to the work that you do, but we'll get to that. So you mentioned your morning. So before we go back to your day one, before we go back to your childhood, so what's the average day looking like for an ASL? For those who don't know, that's American Sign Language expert, an ASL expert, an author, an award-winning real estate agent. What's your average day like?
So I would get up, and I have a little puppy pug. And so his name's Ray, and he's very, very, very demanding. And so he'll always want to sit right next to me. So I know that I'll go get coffee or go get water. And Ray he's usually sitting right here, but he's out there staring at me. And so he'll have to jump on the chair with me, and he'll just sit with me basically all day until I have to go. So then I just return emails or phone calls or call my clients back, whether that's on a video phone if they're deaf or hard of hearing, and then I'm usually in the car too, so that takes up a lot of time because I'm an agent, so we always drive.
Yeah. I guess that's the same for all agents all around the world, right? You're always in your car, that's your office. That's your
Yeah, exactly. Our office is definitely in our car. So you just have to keep it
Yeah.
clean. That's where all my paperwork is. That's where everything is.
It reminds me, I'm not sure if you watched The Lincoln Lawyer on Netflix.
Oh no, but I heard that's really good. I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I know it's quite a good series. Yeah, and I mean, he's also an attorney that, works from his car, like literally. And like in the boot is just all his files for all his clients.
Yeah, that would be neat. And I have to get like organized somehow because I'll if someone calls, I'll just like scratch write on a piece of paper, but then I lose that piece of paper. So I need to figure out how to be more structured in that sense because I've done that for like 35 years. So it's just something that I've always done. So I always find these little papers everywhere, but then I can't read my handwriting. So I'm like, oh, which one was that one? So I need be more organized in the car.
Yeah, well, I guess it's just part of life here, it's no crime. Sometimes we can criticize ourselves for not being organized, but I mean, you have a busy lifestyle, so it's understandable. And all we can do as humans is the best we can because we are only human.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah. So, Maria, let's go back. Let's get to know you. Let's build a relationship, not just with me, but also with listeners. That's where I always love to start. Let's go back to your day one. I mean, I got your press release. It's here in front of me. There's just on this alone, there's so much to take away and learn about you, or for anybody to go online and read about you or get your book that we are going to mention later on. But let's hear it from you. Let's go back to your childhood. Start at any point before buying your parents their first house at 12 years old. Wow, I never know that was possible, but you did it. So let's
made it
start
through
there.
So I always joke that I grew up bilingual, but not in the way most people do, because ASL was my first language. So, and that's American sign language, because every country has their own sign. And so both of my parents are deaf. So I'm a CODA, which is a child of deaf adults. So I spent my childhood interpreting for my parents, from doctor's appointments to meetings, and obviously helping them buy a first home, because I saw them struggling in there. And I thought that every kids did things like that. And so for me, it was like my normal. And then looking back, I realized it taught me how to communicate and solve problems early on in life and advocate for people. So I feel like the lessons I learned being in the deaf culture led me to my success in real estate, which I've been in for 35 years, and it eventually inspired me to write the book Raised in Silence. So everything I do today is really about helping people feel seen, heard, and understood.
Yeah. And what was it like growing up as the bridge between two worlds before you ever understood what that really meant?
For me, I always thought that it was normal and that's just the way that it was, until I noticed, like, I was sitting underneath a tree at 5 years old, because I was just in kindergarten. I was with my friend on a field trip, and then I saw my mom across the parking lot. So her and I were signing, because you can sign across any room. And my friend was like, "Oh, your parents can't hear or speak," and I'm like, "Oh no, they're deaf." So I think that was the moment that I realized that my normal was different from everyone else's.
Yeah. Yeah. And you were one of 6 children, correct?
Mhm. Yeah, there's 6 of us and we're all hearing.
Okay. So enlighten me or educate me, because, with this episode, I am going to learn so much as well. So 6 children, and all 6 children could hear fine.
Yes, so my dad was born deaf, and then my mom became deaf at 9 months when she had the chickenpox and the measles at the same time. So she was deaf for her entire life, because she was only 9 months. And so we did like a genetic testing just to see if we carry the deaf gene, because you can have hereditary deafness, and it could be generations down. And my dad actually had that. So he had, well, we think it was my dad, because we have the gene, but all of us ended up hearing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's
That's where I was going. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And even the cousins, like our kids, we have nobody in our generations beneath my dad that are deaf. We're all hearing,
Yeah.
which is unusual,
Because, well,
especially if you have the gene.
yeah. Because for someone like me on the outside that doesn't really understand, you know, you would assume, you know, but once again, we shouldn't make assumptions in
Yeah.
life. You would assume it's like, it's generic, so it will pass on to the children. But yeah, you have 6 children that it never pass on.
Mhm, and all the
You know?
kids underneath us, like even our children and the grandchildren and all that stuff, like none of us have it at all.
Wow. That's yeah, that's actually astonishing, you know?
Yeah, it's
You think
very,
about it.
and the community is huge, and I think a lot of people don't realize how big it is, because just in Denver
Yeah.
alone, through the metro, that there's over 300,000 deaf or hard of hearing people. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's
You
and
said
that's only
something
Denver.
that's only Denver, right?
Yeah.
You said something interesting that, okay, you got ASL and sign language is different country to country. That's also something I never knew. I just thought it was like a standard.
Yeah, I think a lot of people think that it's a universal language, and it's not. So every
Yeah.
country has their own language and their own sign.
And how does
So
that?
there's some I don't know, because I think it's just like other languages that you speak, because even when we sign, we use our hands for ASL, but in some countries they'll sign like with their bodies and stuff to make the alphabet. So it's different everywhere.
Okay. So how do I say hello?
So for us, you would just say hello or hi.
Again, so
Yeah.
straightforward. Hello.
Yep,
Hello.
exactly.
Okay. Would you do the same with like a goodbye?
Yeah, you do goodbye or goodbye. And then this is thank you. So that's like so thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
So okay, we got the hello, got the
Hello.
goodbye. This is
And
straightforward.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
And thank you.
Yeah.
And how are you?
So that's a difference. So that's how are with an R. Yeah, this is how you say R in sign language. So you do R. You.
Okay. Right. Whoa.
Hello.
Whoa.
How
Yeah.
are you?
Yeah. Wow. Amazing. You amazing. You had to learn all this at such a young age.
Oh
Okay.
yeah,
So you
we were young. It was our first language. So we're 1 or 2 years
yeah.
old signing.
Wow. So you learned ASL before you learned your first English word,
Mhm.
right? Now, at such a young age, question one, like, how are you feeling like emotionally about it? Especially now if you're in school and now there's other kids that, are definitely now growing up way different compared to you. So how did you see the world and communicate knowing that, okay, ESL was my first language, not English, now going into the world. So how did you see the world at that age?
I think for me, until I realized like it was different, because then people would always stare at us, because well, number one, it's fascinating, but it's also something different. And I have always stuttered as a child, so I was already going to speech therapy and everything. So we were already made fun of, especially for that. And so we always felt like we were the outcasts. And so for me, growing up that way taught me to have empathy for others who felt different. And so for me, it always made me feel like I'm gonna always make somebody feel like they're included and that they belong somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. No, well done to you on that. And when it comes to the deaf community, like what are some of the common misconceptions that you would like to debunk about it?
A lot of people, there's two of them. A lot of people think that they can read lips, and they, I can read lips because I was taught, but a lot of the deaf and hard of hearing people can't read lips. And so, and another thing is that they are less than, like they need to be fixed, and they don't. They're just like us, and they learn just like us. They just talk a different language.
Yeah, yeah, 100%, Um, I mean, and there can be also a lot of, stigma around the topic, a lot of bullying, that can happen,
Mhm.
still happens this day and age when it comes to being deaf, blind, or both. Um, so like, and please, anything you don't feel comfortable talking about, it's okay. I'm just trying to put myself in the shoes of someone growing up in 2026, in the era of social media and how far bullying can actually go these days versus back then. Like, what would you say to somebody who's getting bullied because either their parents are deaf blind or both, or they are getting bullied as well, by society, to
Yeah,
feel like, okay, I am still human, and just to build like self-esteem.
exactly. And I feel like that happens a lot, because I think that a lot of people are so mean, and they're like, especially growing up, because they don't know any different. And I always said that because my son's gay, and so I saw him be bullied like all the time. Like, it is literally insane how how mean kids are. Like they're really mean out there. And so I always told him, it's not you. Like you have to think that you're not the issue and don't take it personal. And I feel like I've always told people that, and especially him, because I saw what he went through. And I always said, don't try to become someone else just to fit in. And I think that the things that make us different are they often become our things that we're most proud of and our strengths that we have. And so I always told him that your story has value. So don't let them affect how you are. And I know that's hard, and you have to like consciously do it, but it's not you that has the issue if people are making fun of you or bullying you.
Yeah, yeah. It's a very you know, touchy. Let me use the word touchy, subject. And it's an ambitious goal, dealing with it and doing our best. I mean, you do it, I do it, just to help these individuals as much as possible, whatever their niche may be. So let's go to now. You helped your parents at 12 years old to buy their first house. Did that now shape your career in real estate?
Yes, it definitely, because so I was just thinking that I was just going to go into the car to go to buy our house or whatever, and just go with my parents. And when we got there, there was no interpreter, and so they were just like putting the papers in front of them, and of course they can understand, but it's so different when you're signing, especially papers for real estate, though, and mortgages. Like those are really like it has to be explained to you what they're signing. So I could see that my parents were struggling, and because they didn't understand and they didn't really fit in. And so I jumped in and started interpreting, not of course not knowing any of the terminology at that time. And you could tell that they were so thankful that I was there to help them, because they weren't understanding. And I always thought to myself, I'm never going to make somebody feel like they felt at that time. And so, and I love just the finance and the real estate part of it. And so when I was a teen mom, so I needed a job right away, and I loved doing that for my parents. I jumped right into real estate.
Yeah. So would you say that, being an award-winning real estate agent in 2026, doing it for, did you say 35 years?
Yeah, I've been in it for 35 years.
Yeah, 35 years. Now, that experience with your parents, you are in the real estate game now to help people who are also, deaf or unable to understand how this all works. Would you say that's
Yeah,
your key
exactly.
target market?
Yeah, I always anybody who feels different or feel like they don't belong, I'm always there to make them feel like they have a safe space to be themselves, because that's one of your biggest decisions of life, is either to sell or buy a home. And I think
Yeah.
it affects every single day. So real estate is mostly about communication and trust. I mean, that's huge. And the real estate. And I think growing up interpreting for my parents taught me how to explain complex like things in a simple way that they'll understand, and that you could stay calm and be patient, and that's all it takes. And I always make sure that I know what people are understanding when it's happening. And I feel like those skills, because I was taught that younger in life with the deaf culture, has helped me build relationships with clients and for like decades. So I think that real estate is a very relationship trust based
Hmm.
business.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. No, I love where you're going with that, relationship touch-based business. And you mentioned the word trust. And when it comes to real estate, right? And I'm sure this is a global thing, but in South Africa, like trust and real estate agents, people are just so scared of them now because, and I've also experienced it firsthand as well, like the agent is all for you and is your best friend the moment you go to see a property and you're interested in buying it. And the moment you sign the offer to purchase, the next thing you know, you don't hear from them again,
Mhm.
ignoring you, not taking your calls. When you asking them, for clarity on certain things, they like very hesitant to give it to you. Now they got this like attitude because, hey, it's already done. The offer to purchase has been signed, done deal. I'm going to get my commission, why do I need to care about you anymore? But now the culture is changing, because of individuals like yourself. I remember it was also last year sometime, I also had a real estate agent come onto the show, and within his organization, he decided to start now like a coaching program, for real estate agents to change that culture, to build relationships with the buyer, the seller, both. It's needed. So thank you,
Oh, yeah.
yes, for doing that.
Yeah, exactly. It's all relationship based, and I am good friends with all of my clients. So with me, it's not about the transaction. To me, it's about the relationship, and that's so important because that's how you get referrals. That's how you get everything. And I always even help them afterwards. That has nothing to do with real estate. Like I'm always there for my clients, no matter what it is, even outside of real estate. In fact, I'm meeting one of my clients on Monday that has nothing to do with real estate, just to help them out. And so for me, it's all about the relationship. You should never just go away.
Yeah, yeah. No, 100%. I'm so grateful, that so many people are adapting the sort of mindset. You know,
Yeah,
it really
exactly.
is,
It's not about the number of
Yeah.
transaction. It's the quality of the relationship that you have built with them, and that carries weight for years and years because they'll always
Yeah.
remember how you treated them and how you were there for me. I was texting a client last night and it was midnight, and so and for me, I always say that I'm available 24/7, and I know that everybody thinks that that's bad, but if they're texting you that late at night or super early in the morning, they need something, and I don't want to make them stress the entire time. So I try to always be available for my clients.
Nice, nice. Yeah, well, big ups to you. Big ups
Thank
to
you.
you. And I also see, what's happening in society, and it's because, of podcasts and this era of information. If you have a good laptop or PC, and you want access to the internet, you can now self-educate yourself. I'll use this podcast as an example. Once it's uploaded, and one of the hashtags is real estate agent, if somebody is searching online for advice on a specific topic, like real estate, it leads them to this podcast. And, next thing you know, you might be getting a new client out of that because they're listening to what you have to say and, what you actually want to do for them. And that's what people want these days. So, to all the agents out there, and I see this happening in South Africa a lot, the ones that are failing to adapt, you just see a decline in business. And it's gone so bad in South Africa that you now have real estate agents, and I mean big guys who are based here, that are now wanting to affiliate with the average Joe on the street. So I had an agent also approach me once on the street and was like, here's my card. And I was familiar with the company, that they represent. And it's become so bad for them because they've haven't built that relationship with people along the way, that they're now saying, hey, Kino, if you find a house for us to sell, we will give you 10 to 15% of that commission. And these are things
Yeah.
that should never happen before. But it's because of them, that they are in the situation, and now they're all competing with each other. Business is slow. Once again, no relationship. People are always looking to buy, people are always wanting to sell. That's something that's never going to stop, but people just don't want to deal with you, you know?
Yeah. They, that's why you have to build a relationship. And I think one of the biggest lessons that I've learned is that communication isn't about talking. It's about connection. And so is real estate and life in general. And so you can have a conversation without saying a word, and you can talk for an hour without truly connecting with someone. So for me, you can't do that in sign language because you have to look at them and pay attention to them while they're signing. So I think growing up in my family taught me to pay attention to people's expressions, to their emotions, their body language, which is very important to feel their energy. And I think that the world would be much kinder place if we spent less time thinking about what we're going to say next or what we're going to do next, and have more time trying to understand the person who's in front of us.
Nice. Well said. Well said. Yeah, well said. So you eventually now took a hard turn in life and became an author. So your book called Raised in Silence, do you have a copy of the book with you by any chance?
I do. Actually, it's right here. It's the
Oh, yeah, there we go. There's the cover
it's right behind me.
behind you. Okay, there we go. You can bring it closer to the screen. There we go. Raised in Silence. So you took a hard turn, okay? You've explained now your historical background. At 12 years old, that's when you entered into real estate. You took a hard turn, became an author. How did that happen? And why?
So I felt, well, it was like 15 years in the making, and people they were telling me for years that I should write about my story, but I kept putting it off because like being in the deaf culture was just my normal. So it was just life for me. And then I realized that most people never met somebody who was a CODA and who grew up with deaf parents, and they don't know without or what the world looks like in that, and they definitely didn't realize how many assumptions that they make without even knowing it. And for us, we can't do that. And so I wanted to open up a window into a world, but I also wanted readers to see themselves in it. And so there's a lot of stories, and it's not about the culture. It's about family resilience and communication, and what happens when we truly take the time to understand one another. So it's about being inclusive, belonging. So it's not just for the deaf and hard of hearing community. It's for everybody who wants to learn to have that better connections.
Yeah. And this is the first book that you have published.
Yes. Yeah. And I was I'm Amazon's number one bestseller, and within 24 hours, I was number one on new releases.
Wow, nice. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. And when did the book get released?
So it went to phases. So it started at the end of last year, and then the audio just came out. So I have it in Kindle, paperback, hardcover, and audio. And then right now it's being translated in Spanish. And I also have it translated in ASL.
Nice. And are you the voice behind the audio?
No, I stutter. So because they wanted me to be. And I was like, there is no way that I could do an audio, especially with me stuttering. And so, no, we hired somebody to do it. And she actually did a very, very good job.
Well, we have been speaking now for 35 minutes and 0 seconds. I think you would have done a good job.
I don't know. I'm getting too nervous. It would be like stumbling upon everything.
Yeah. I feel you would have done a fantastic job. So, you got a range of ideal readers for this book, and I'm going to name a few that's here in front of me. So, coders and members of the deaf community, children of immigrants, professionals seeking exclusive leadership inspiration, readers who love memoirs about resilience. So I got to ask the question, the book is part memoir, part cultural guide, and part business playbook. How did you balance all of these components in the book?
I think because of the way that I did grow up, I always wanted to make sure that everybody was belonging. And in the book, it has a lot of like stories about mine. So it's not really technically a memoir, I wouldn't say, because the stories actually have meaning in it. Because something happened to me, I changed it, and I was resilient against something. So it's more for like leaders and people who want to feel like they have a safe space to be their authentic self. So for me, I just like collaborated all the stuff and thought, what would I like to read? So a lot of people who read it aren't with the deaf and hard of hearing community, and they always said, oh, I never thought about that side of it in that perspective. And so it just gives people a perspective of how to be more inclusive and more awareness of how to be kind to other people and just try.
So is like the word inclusive the key takeaway from the book? Is that what you want readers to take away, like your key message?
Yeah, I think that the key message I think would be to just for more awareness and to have more connections with people. And so, and I think that we all can do better at that. And it just gives it's got keywords on the back to teach them, like, hey, what about this? Instead of saying this, how could you have said it different to make somebody feel like they belonged?
Yeah. And that's what everyone is searching for, these
Mhm.
days, belonging,
Exactly.
and that's something that's happening all around the world. And I mean, when you glue to a screen for 18 hours out of the 24 hours a day that you have, people aren't connecting as much. So, based on what you just said, what's your take living in this digital era and the side effects of social media? Would you say like that's something that's, stopping us from connecting with each other as humans?
I think so because a lot of us are always are like scrolling on our phones, and even when you're talking to someone, they're not truly listening. Like they're not listening because you can't listen if you're scrolling on your phone or if you're thinking the next thought. And where I think it made me a good listener by being in the deaf culture because we can't do that because you can't be scrolling on your phone if you're communicating with with someone, especially in sign language. So for me, I think that we and then we're always like listening or thinking in our own heads about what am I going to do later? What do I need to do that? So I think that a lot of us can be better communicators and better listeners, especially when it comes to social media or being always on your phone because now we have phones with us all the time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I had this nostalgic moment just yesterday. I came across this post on Instagram, and it was about, okay, I'm a millennial, so it was like, I could relate to it, because it was showing me what a different world we're actually living in today. It's like such a dull world versus a colorful world, that I grew up in. And I thank God each and every single day that I grew up in that era,
Mhm.
you know, where yes, there were phones, but you didn't care about your phone, What you were concerned about was like getting up, going on the street, meeting up with your friends,
Riding your
going for
bikes.
parties when you're in college, yeah, bicycles, and they showed so many different examples, of how we should pick up the phone and actually call the person we wanted to speak to versus, sending a message, stuff like that. And I was like, sort of, you're not going to use the word depressed, but I feel so overwhelmed about it
Yeah.
in this day and age. And then I reposted, you know, this post and I captioned it that our mental health was, for me personally speaking, in such a better space during that era versus now. And I ended off saying, we can bring it back. It is possible. There's
And it starts with us, I feel like, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Teaching the
What?
kids like different things.
Yeah.
It's funny that you said that because I was talking to the girl that I was with this morning, and we were talking about that, about how different it is now versus when we were growing up, because we were always
Mhm.
riding our bikes or with our friends or driving around to the park and now the era is so completely different because all the kids are like they're on their phones. Like it's so funny that you said it because we were literally just talking about this an hour ago.
Imagine that. You see,
Yeah.
add to that. Yeah, yeah. It's like, being in high school, if you liked a girl, you would go up to the girl and you would tell her. Nowadays, it's like, should I like DM her? Because I
Yeah.
can't even, I can't even like go up to her. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, if you can't go up to her, but you want to DM her, what relationship exactly are you going to have with her if you can't even talk to her? You know?
Exactly. The connection is gone, and I feel like when you
Yeah.
email somebody or DM or text them, it could be so misunderstood because you can't see or hear their tones while you're texting. So I think a lot of things like when you're doing that stuff is very like it can be misconstrued.
Yeah. So, as a parent yourself, right? What would you say to parents out there in the world? Like, what advice would you give them? Because, kids can dictate to their parents as well. I see that happening.
Yeah.
What advice would you give them where their children are completely glued on the phone? They're unable to connect. They don't know how to connect because you have just allowed them, to be so glued to their phone all the time. Like, what advice would you give to them for a parent that's just so overwhelmed? What do I do with the situation?
I think to let them obviously let them be their authentic self, but you also have to take time to say, hey, for like an hour at dinner, an hour at breakfast, or one in the morning and one at night, spend like your be off your phone for an hour and not have your phone there. And I'm get guilty of that. Well, Jordan never had a phone like growing up because she was born in the early 90s. I don't even know when the phone came out. But so she never really had a phone until she was like 16 or 17. But I think now that a lot of us try to distract the baby or the toddler with like an iPad, and it's so easy to do that because it helps us. But maybe if you just take them out to the park to distract them or take them, I think that if they're just with you, then it makes a big difference. And I really do think it starts with us because I've always, even with the bullying and stuff, because I've always told Jordan and my son, never ever make anybody feel less than you, and don't ever make fun of anybody because you wouldn't want, like, put yourself in their shoes. Would you want to be made fun of? Would you want to feel that way? And I've always taught my kids that their entire lives.
Yeah,
So that
yeah,
we just have to build connection.
yeah. Thank you. Now, for listeners who may be confused, we started off talking about your book and jumped on to this different topics. The reason I do that is because it's just all linked to your overall message. You can correct me if
Mhm.
I'm wrong, because you stand for connection, you stand for inclusion. And anybody who gets your book now, is going to take away a lot of stories related to those two words that I have just mentioned.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that what I want them to remember is that I tell everybody to just try, because one act of kindness a day can change someone else's life. And you never know what they're going through. So if you're just trying, like, you don't have to know sign language, we don't have to have like all the right words or whatever. But I feel like if you just make the effort to connect, and a smile, patience, contact, or simply asking somebody like, how are you doing? Because I feel like we don't do that enough,
Hmm.
and that we're just afraid to, be outside of the box or approach strangers. But that makes, in my opinion, that could make the difference in everybody, and it makes your heart feel good. Like, I always give people, straight strangers, compliments all the time, and you can tell on their face that they're like, wow, that was really nice. So for me, that makes my day, to make someone else feel good about themselves.
Yeah. You actually took my next question, right out of me. Because your motto is just try. And I was going to say, what does it mean to you? And, you've already explained it to us.
Yeah, it just means just making an effort, and knowing that one conversation can change someone's perspective, whether it's helping someone buy their first home, or hearing or finding something even in the store. I think those are moments that can change someone's path, very, very much so, I think.
Yeah. Not even think. No, I agree with you. I agree with you. Um, I want to read this, and this, like, literally, sums up your book. Raised in Silence is a heartfelt book about empathy, communication, and the courage to be authentic as a child of deaf adults. CODA. I was just going to say, like, CODA, you know.
Yeah.
Now it's just called, CODA. You share how awareness and acceptance can bridge communities and inspire true inclusion. Your story, or here it says her story, but your story celebrates diversity and the courage to just try reminding us that compassion has the power to connect us all. So let's be compassionate in a very chaotic world right now. Right?
Exactly. Yeah, I know. I think we could just help them. I think that my story begins with the deaf community, but the message actually belongs to everybody, because I think that's what's so important about the book, is because it just opens up your eyes to viewing things in a different light.
Yeah, 100%, And it's, when you say, viewing it in a different light, it's like such basic things that we can do just as humans, to bring so much more compassion to the world. And, you contributing to that. And that's a yay for me. There's so many creators around the world are contributing to that. And we just need people to just get on board, listen to what you have to say, purchase these books, because it can make such a difference in educating yourselves, so you can also filter it down to other individuals to make the world a better place.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's for business people, leaders, like anybody who wants to make where they're at a more like better space, even the workplace. You know what I mean? We can all be
Yeah.
kinder at workspace. Customer service. Sometimes we get really mean ones, and it's like, dude, you could get so much better. Like if you're just like nice to each other.
Yeah. Especially in the corporate world. I mean,
Oh, yes.
here and there you do see corporate culture changing, but it's changing so slowly, you
Mhm.
know? Yeah.
Yes, and it starts with us, with leaders and business people and parents, to teach that and to tell people, hey, that wasn't nice. Try it this way. And I think that's what it's all about. It's just to teach us human connection and being nice.
Yeah. This is a really, really far, far stretch, but even government officials can take something away from you.
Yeah, exactly. Be nicer on the phone when we call you for something. Just kidding.
Yeah. Don't just listen to our complaints when it's election time. Like, listen to our complaints all the time. You know,
Yeah,
be a good leader.
yeah. Be a good leader. Be a good listener. That's all we all need.
Yeah, exactly. So, what is next for you, Maria? You got your first book published, it's out there, it's doing so well on Amazon. Once again, congratulations. You're an amazing real estate agent. What is next for you for the remainder of 2026 and going into 2027? Because we're literally around the corner, from another
We're
year.
halfway over. We're like
Yeah.
midway. So I think
Yeah.
for me, I'm going to obviously continue to grow my real estate business and speak into places or organization about communication and inclusion, and reaching more readers with raised in silence, because my goal, I think, that has never been just to sell books and real estate. It's to start conversations that make people think, and make them think differently about how they can connect with others.
Yeah, yeah. And you were part of several organizations, including on the board for Rocky Mountain Deaf School.
Mhm. Yes, so I'm
What's
on the board
the
of.
initiative? Yeah, what's the initiative of the school?
So that one is a school for the deaf and hard of hearing kids, because a lot of kids feel really isolated, especially when they're younger, because they can't hear, and sometimes the parents don't know sign language. So there's schools throughout the nation who cater to the deaf and hard of hearing kids, and they have ASL teachers or interpreters all within there to make them feel like they belong somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. So, Maria, my target audience, when this show is published, when it comes down to the marketing, is going to be to the deaf community, you know. Um, what would be your final message, to them right now in 2026?
I think mine would be, hmm, I think it'd be to like stop and listen and think about how you're coming across with someone. So for me, it would be just have more patience with people and think before you either like react or making somebody feel like they're not there. And so, because at the end of the day, everybody, humans want to feel is to be seen, heard, and understood. And I think if we can make someone feel like that day, it can make all the difference for everyone.
Yeah. And thank you for that, for that final message. And out of curiosity, like when it comes to mental illness, how is it affecting, somebody who's deaf right now in 2026? Like, are the numbers high when it comes to anxiety and depression because they feel like they don't belong in society?
Yeah, and I think that goes across every culture and the board, because I think that even the LGBTQ plus community, they feel isolated and left out. And I've always thought that the deaf and hard of hearing community and that LGBTQ plus community go hand in hand, because all they want to do is feel like they belong somewhere. And it starts with all of us and everybody to make somebody feel like they belong. So for me, I feel like mental health goes across the board with anyone, because I feel like when people don't feel like they belong somewhere, it's not good for them at all. And I've seen like people struggle with that a lot on every culture. So for us as humans as well, if we make them feel better and make them feel like they belong somewhere, we could have just shifted their entire life.
Yeah. I mean, gosh, all we have to do is just greet them, you know?
Just say hi or smile at them instead of just making everybody feel isolated.
Yeah. And then one more final question would be is like if I'm a parent right now and this was like similar to your case, okay, but like in opposite, I'm a parent and then my child is deaf and I'm overwhelmed about it. What resources are available for these parents, out there in the world today? I know each country, you got your different organizations that are operating, but what are good like places to go to online to gather more information? Or do you yourself host any of these platforms?
Yeah, there's a lot of different, even worldwide or organizations that you can go to. And for Colorado, obviously it's Colorado Association for the Deaf, or the Rocky Mountain Deaf School. So every state and every country has their own areas like that, and it would be just reaching out to them. If you are struggling, there's online classes that you can take for sign language. If you just learn just a few of the basic signs, or even type in your phone so you could show it to your child, just so the child feels like you're trying with them, because neither one of my grandparents knew sign language at all. And it's hard for someone to connect with a deaf or hard of hearing child if you don't know their language and talk to them. So for me, I think it's very important to learn their language, because otherwise they're going to feel isolated, and that's not good for their mental status.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you so much. So, Maria, any final words from your side?
Just keep trying and try to connect with others, for sure.
That's it. And where can people find you online? Where are you hanging out?
So I am so for real estate, it's galluccihomes.com, and then the book Raised in Silence is on every book platform, Amazon, and then it also has its own website, which is raisedinsilence.com.
Raisedinsilence.com. And are you on social media?
Yes, and that is Gallucci Homes. So Maria Gallucci, and that's Homes with an S, so it's plural. Gallucci Homes.
And that's on Instagram and on Facebook.
Yeah, on Instagram and Facebook. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Maria, thank you so much for educating me
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
and for teaching me a few signs.
Yeah,
And
this is
yeah.
I love you. Well, in American especially.
Yeah.
There's another one. That's a good one.
Queens, I love you.
Yeah, I
That's
love
lovely.
you. Yeah. Uh-huh.
So this was never some. So okay, so which came first? I love you or let's rock and roll?
I know. I think with 2, so I love these with 3. The thumbs up.
The thumbs up. Okay,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
I feel you.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, Maria. I love you and thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.